the... Are we live? I think we might be live. Okay. Let's see. Hello, everybody. I am a virtual tourist. That's right. Today we're going to be visiting the set of the former set of the new Scrubs TV show. It's an old show, sorry. Sorry. Hold on. Go. Ay. Testing. All right. Let's try this again. Hi, everybody. My name is John, and I am a virtual tourist. Today we are going to be visiting the former set of Scrubs. That's right. The wonderful hospital that the wonderful series was filmed in. Okay, so I did a little bit of this on my last video. There's the hospital. Just gonna go over this again for the benefit of people who haven't seen the last stream. This is the Scrubs hospital set. Obviously it was taken at a time when it wasn't being used for filming. I mean, like the off season or something, but as I pointed out earlier, these windows right here that are covered up are actually part of the cafeteria. This right here is where janitor had the big garbage container that JD flew off his bike into when the janitor called him on his cell phone and he was driving his scooter. That show's hilarious. Yeah. So, first floor, second floor, and fourth floor were what they used for photography. The third floor, of course, is the where the writers had their offices, and they pretty much lived in there. And there's the air conditioning units that they needed. Because again, the hospital wasn't air conditioned centrally. So whenever they did whenever they were filming a scene, they had this like really long tube thing that came out the back of one of those portable trucks that produced cool air, and this giant tube would run throughout the hospital, and they'd move it to wherever they were filming, and they would pump the air in there. So most of the time, anybody who was throughout those 3 levels of the hospital were roasting, unless it was they were filming. Okay. Let's go over here. Check out the neighborhood a little bit. This is North Hollywood, and we can know that because the building was called the North Hollywood Medical Center. And also because that's what it is on the map. And yeah, I'm sorry, this was taken in 2007, so the resolution isn't all that great, but thankfully Google preserves it and we can see it now, which is quite amazing when you think of it. That a corporation would do that, have millions of photographs taken from all of the streets in America and sew it all together to make a street view. Where the return on that investment wouldn't come for at least several decades. Not several. At least a decade. Or more. Several years, we'll say. That's pretty much all I could say from this side of the building. Yeah, around, this is the 4th floor. Around the corner from here is where Kelso's office was set. Just a couple windows down on the other side. And there aren't many other sets you could, like from this vantage. This along the eastern side of the 4th floor, the southeast side. That was where all the actors' dressing rooms were. So that's why they rarely shot anything in that area of the hospital. Yeah, it keeps bouncing around between today and other days. Okay, right in the middle there was the giant room that they used for multiple things. They used it for Franklin's lab. It looks like a laboratory room. Sometimes they used it for to look like a classroom. So Dr. Cox would be in there throwing stuff around and telling people the brutal truth in there. They also wheeled in a I think it was a CAT scan machine that they used for that scene where the guy was screaming about his machines. Sorry, whose machines? My machines! That was sort of helpful. So that was a multi-purpose room. What else was down there? Can't think of anything right now. Okay. This is the giant elevator box at the top of the building. As I said earlier that the previous video, that the elevators were state-of-the-art at the time they were put in, and they did that so that they could control like virtually everything about it remotely, so you could time when the elevator door closed so that they could do photography in there and not have to worry about the door closing after a certain amount of time. They programmed it to close whenever they wanted it to remotely, and that was very helpful. Also helpful to make the building look larger because you could use the elevators unbeknownst to people watching. You could use the elevators as if it were a room instead of an elevator, because the doors were open and you can't see them, and then you could see across to the other hallway and it would look like just another area of the hospital. So yeah, they used various techniques to make the hospital look like a lot more like it had a lot more space, and that was very brilliant, in my opinion. So that's what that looks like. Okay, here we go. Take a look at the hospital from the top, and I don't know why this is restarting, because it was perfectly set at the spot where I wanted it to be. And now the darn thing is restarting. Alright, here is the hospital from above. Bird's eye view. Sorry. Okay. This right here is the hospital tower. As you can see, it has a much larger shadow because it's so tall. Yeah. 4.5 floors is really tall. Okay. The entire hospital complex is in view here, including the single floor buildings that actually did most of the work while the hospital was in service, like as a hospital. So right here they had the emergency center. Down here are some doctors' offices. Alright, right here was, at the time it was running, was an urgent care center. Here they had an education center. I suppose it was for like diabetics and people like that. Back here is the loading dock, and I'm not quite sure what these were, but I suspect they had something to do with like pediatrics or something, because I think that's where the Like the uh, dressed up rooms were, I think, at one time this was Elliot's apartment. They used the building for multiple things. And I think that the children's washroom was in there too. As far as the show goes, what these parts were as follows. I think the education center is where Turk and JD's apartment was. And when they did their podcast, they said that it was made it sound like it was on the first floor of the hospital tower, but we had a look at the walkthrough that Rob Macchio did, and he came walking through here and went to the apartment that they had here. So this is where it was, and we can confirm that because they also said that it was like right next to the loading dock, and this is the loading dock right here. You can it can be seen in a few of the scenes. The one where they have a huge pile of sand, and Ted gets flown into that by Dr. Kelso in his car. And you can see all the trucks in the background at the loading dock, and yeah. The urgent care center right here was what they called the stage in the production, and that was where they put like outdoor sets, like a convenience store, a bar. Later years it was used as JD's apartment and Elliot's house that she bought. Just at the front of the building there. They used the emergency room area just a couple of times. Once I think was when they were moonlighting at the vet, and another time when Elliot was helping Kelso with all of the like walk-in and impoverished people. Kelso was wondering why nobody had any money. Anyway. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about medicine, because I think my personal opinion is that the show Scrubs was one of the most realistic, if not the most realistic, medical show of the last 40 years. And I'm going to tell you why. First I'm going to switch this over. See if I can get another window capture going here. Just a second. There we go. See if I can place that properly so it's not in the way. Snaps into place. Okay. So this is the inside of the hospital. What happened here is that when they left the hospital, they remodeled it, and for a brief period they restarted it as sort of an urgent care clinic, I think. It lasted about a year before they tore it down. And while they were remodeling it, they took pictures of it so that they could sell it, put it on the market. So this is... I don't know why it stopped. Not sure why that's doing that. Hold on a second. I think we're back online now. Well, that didn't go too well. Trying to get a little montage going. Let's stop that. Okay. Have to do it manually, I guess. What? The keyboard isn't working. Sorry about that. Let's do a little bit of looking around. So it's like they were trying to sell a house, so they emptied it all up and gussied it all up and put the little props in. This is what was the ICU in the Scrubs show. Some guy there. Yeah, they took down the site that had all these photos. Luckily, I was able to salvage them before they did that, though. Well, most of them. And computers. Yeah, well, the technology was. This was back in 2011 when they sold it. No, that would have been 2010. Because they tore it down in 2011. Okay. So, about the show. Yeah, I think it's the most realistic medical show in the last 30 years, in my opinion. And it's not just because the medicine was accurate for the time. I think what the show did very well is speak to doctors in their language. Medicine isn't just some kind of drama. You have 60 minutes of mostly pure adrenaline where you're rushing a shooting victim or a house fire victim into a trauma room and hooking up tubes to them and bringing them back to life. Mostly, medicine is very boring most of the time. Spend a lot of time waiting for people to get better and monitoring their case, making sure that they don't get worse, and a whole lot of paperwork. Just a ton of paperwork. And there are those 5% of times when you're really in it, where the where you are asked to spring into action immediately. And those times are tough. Um, what the show did best was show how doctors are actually human. And they're they're not supermen. They need a lot of help. They need a lot of education. They need mentoring. They need to be mentors. And they need to constantly learn. It's a lifelong learning experience. Then what the show did, one of the things that the show did is that it showed how human frailty integrates into a career in medicine, because doctors are human. And a doctor may be very competent at what they do for their career, but they may have a completely berserk or immature personal life. Could be completely off the wall. And just like any of us. But at the end of the day, you always have to bring your A game to help people. That's really what it's all about. Not only the personal lives, but their professional lives too were portrayed properly. Like the insecurities that a young doctor has at a time when they're not supposed to show that to their patients, because that would make their lives worse. It's quite daunting. And other medical shows didn't really go into that. Didn't really go into how insecure doctors can actually get. Like they did show in like ER or House. Obviously, they showed when somebody would make a mistake, or when somebody is outperformed by a colleague, or I don't know. But it was always like a one and done kind of thing, like where maybe this season this doctor would make this mistake, and for the rest of the season he's making up for that. That's not really how it goes. Like there's so many decisions that a doctor makes that you can make a mistake every week. Like I'm not talking about like big mistakes. I'm talking like maybe you misdiagnose someone for half a day, something like that. Um, yes, it's a struggle that like you really do have to fight your insecurity on a daily basis. It's not just one mistake and you come to your senses and are perfect for the next half a year. It doesn't work that way. Like you're constantly fighting, and most of the time you win, but that's that's what it's about. Like I never remember any other medical show showing that a doctor would be terrified of running a code, like, and run to a closet to hide. But for some people, that's what it's like, and I think it's great that they showed the parts where that allowed a doctor to be human. Like, look at the course of Elliot Reed. This is an aside, but I heard on Meghan Markle's show where she was all up in she was getting all uppity because one scene of Scrubs showed how Elliot was a little too anti-feminist or something. I don't know. And like you said something about being insecure, and Meghan Markle was all over it. Like, this show portrays women as so inferior or something, and I'm watching this thinking, seriously, you pick Elliot Reed of all people, the person that made the biggest strides in overcoming her insecurities during this season, during this show. Like, I can't think of a character on television that ever did as big of a comeback as Elliot Reed did, in coming from this person who ran to hide in a closet to arguably the best doctor in the hospital. Just like top of the game, got it all down in her head. She's memorized books over and over again, and like makes the most money of all of the doctors there, and really cares for patients. Like, really one-on-one, they're fighting with them the whole time. She was quite amazing. Like, obviously it's just a character, but the portrayal, that was real. So yeah, it's about fighting your insecurities, overcoming them, being the best doctor for your patients that you can be, even with all your flaws. It really showed how bad it can get with fighting with yourself, and how you overcome that by relying on your friends and and listening to your mentors, even when you don't like the people that are teaching you. You know that that information will help save lives, and you put up with the piling on from your bosses and from the executives and from the patients, from their families, and through it all, you save people's lives. I've been on the screen for too long here. Probably getting bored. Uh, One of the biggest services to medicine that the Scrub Show did was it told it told the story of one of the primary skills that doctors need that nobody mentions, and that is the ability to manage the unknown. People still today think of their doctors like gods or something. Like they have to have all the answers right away. And the truth is that most of the time, doctors don't have the answer. You have to manage that. You can't, if you don't know what a person has when they come into your doctor's office, or you get assigned the patient from your attending. You don't know what's going on. And what you have to do is you have to find a way to reassure the patient without letting them know that you don't know yet. And that's okay. Like, that's how it's supposed to go. You don't know what's wrong with the patient. You do clinical assessments. You do histories. You do physicals. You set up all of the diagnostic testing that you need based on the person's symptoms and physical signs that you gather during the physical, and managing the unknown. It's not like it's a black hole or something that you don't know anything. But you don't know what the diagnosis is until you do the testing, and until you do differential diagnoses. A lot of it is probabilities. Like you have to manage, like you have to rule out the improbable things that would have the most damaging effect on the patient if they were true. So you have to make sure that they're not hemorrhaging, so you test their blood pressure, and you're gonna make sure that their airway is cleared, so you um, do audiological like you put the stethoscope on their chest and you hear them breathe. So you rule out like the worst scenarios first, and then it's probabilities from there. Like what's the most likely thing that's going on with this patient, and you see the tests. Like first you plan the tests based on that, so you do all of the testing that you do that testing first. Like if you have a big panel of tests, you do the testing for this most likely thing. You put a rush on that, and you do like the rest of the testing later. Sometimes, a lot of times you already have the testing back before you even like start managing the thing, because the patient's likely been in the emergency room, and the only thing that they can do there is like resuscitate the worst case patients, and do like blind testing on people. So it's really managing unknowns means that you have to straddle this line where you're confident enough that you will find the answer to the problem soon. Like you have faith in the tools that have been given you by the science of medicine. But you don't get too overconfident, and you also have to tell your patients, like you can't go up to your patient and say, "I have no idea what's wrong with you," because A, that's going to terrify them, and B, that isn't actually accurate, because like you will know very soon. And most likely. So you're not lying to your patient, but you're like, the patient needs to know that they're in good hands. But they also need to know the truth about their health status. So you're straddling this line between giving them everything that you know and giving them nothing. And trying to, like, really your ability to manage that is a large part of the job. Yeah, like, Alright, let's get back to the scene here for a bit. As I think of what to say next. And give my voice a break. It'll give me a break too. Just having a drink, folks. Non-alcoholic. Actually, it's just water. Okay. Yeah. What people don't understand, it's not the doctor's job to heal you. Your body does that itself. The doctor's job is to enable the body to do that and to get rid of any obstacles that are in your body's way of healing itself. People think they go to the doctor, it'll be cured. Well, no. You're not going to be cured. You're going to be set on a pathway that'll give you the best chance of getting cured. Or at least they'll try. And what most people don't realize is that it's not your doctor's responsibility. It's yours. It's your responsibility to get yourself better, to clean up your life, stop doing things that hurt you, and get on the path to healing. The doctor can only take you so far. At the end of the day, even what a doctor does is up to you. You're the one who decides whether you take their advice or not. And that's how it's supposed to be. It's a constant struggle. And if it's a struggle for your doctor, it's going to be a struggle for you too. You're the one fighting your illnesses. So it's a little bit of a talk about medicine, a little bit of looking around in the hospital. I love that they set it in a real hospital. God save me, I do. It just makes it right, you know? Just makes it real in the minds of the writers and the producers and the cast And the crew? I mean, people aren't dumb. Like they can go into a place and begin to understand it, even if they're just a layperson. They spending time in a functional place, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn what it's all like, what it's all about, why this item is in this spot, and why that one isn't over there, and what this machine is, what that one is, why you need this kind of needle and for this procedure, and why you need that kind of needle for the other one. And it just, this collective knowledge of what a hospital's amenities are useful for starts to make a real impression on you. Let me try. Oops. See if I can get. This isn't the only floor. Here, the first floor. Let's try that. Let's just do a little bit of a walkthrough on the first floor. Hmm. Hold on. Okay, that didn't work. Trying to find how to get this. Sorry about that. A little bit of a trouble with the audio. Okay. Can't seem to be able to get this thing to recognize some window here. Free. I need a new capture, apparently. Sorry. What the? Again? Apparently, it doesn't recognize new windows that open. So you have to reset the whole thing after you've opened the window. Okay. Uncover me so you can still see me, I think. I wonder if it works. So this is just a scene. Alright, here is the diagram for the first floor. What? Trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. Is it built? Close that. Close that. Why is it? What the? Why is it doing this? How do you move that to the front? There. Right now I can't find OBS. Sorry guys, this is only my second video. Second stream. Trying to work this thing out. Okay. I think we're gonna have to stop streaming because the computer seems to be overloaded or something. I'm getting a new computer in a couple of days, so. Hopefully it'll be sorted by then. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. And, peace out, baby.